Hello, hello, good morning. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you so much for just spending some time investing in your health. That is always important. Mind you, this is what I said investment, right? You are not wasting time today. This is an investment. And at least you can do it maybe from the comfort of your home. If you are driving, don't focus on the slides, please. Just listen. And I hope that you get a lot from this. I had a lot of fun and a lot of insights when I did the research to prepare this because I think that men's health, it's at least the area of sugar and hormones and belly fat is not talked about enough. So hopefully this will bring some clarity and you are living with a few nuggets that you can incorporate and see change. That's ultimately my goal. Now I am going to set up my presentation and again, welcome to Why Men Struggle with Belly Fat, Low Energy, and Blood Sugar. And I have to say, I was not really sure how I was going to approach this. I was thinking about that. I know that diabetes is something that is more prevalent in men than women. And I knew that there was an aspect to it, especially with the belly fat and all of that, and working with some clients, male clients. I started to dig deeper. So this is something that was brought up out of curiosity and also out of a lot of questions that some of my clients were presenting. So let's get started. Now, if you don't know anything about me, I am Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach. I was able to reverse my pre-diabetes through lifestyle changes. I did get the medications and all of that, and I actually had horrible side effects. So while that was a route that I explored, I needed to find a different way. I just could not handle the side effects. And now I help busy men and women do exactly the same. Figure out how to find those strategies that are sustainable, that are not necessarily tied to medication. Obviously, if you are on the care of the doctor and you are on medication, please follow their instruction. But my focus is to actually help you balance your blood sugar, regain your energy without the necessity of adding medication. Now, I have helped over 400 clients lower their A1C, lose weight, ditch that brain fog, regain that energy to lifestyle changes. And I am proud podcast host of Prediabetes and the Path to Better A1C. I'm about to hit a great milestone of the 100th episode. I am less than 20 episodes shy away from it, and I am super excited. And that is my way of giving a bit of the science simplified and some strategies every single week. And it's out every Friday morning. Now, my goal for today, what is the goal for today? I want you to learn what is really behind your belly fat, that low energy, and the blood sugar imbalance. And I want you to walk away with that first step, a simple plan to fix it. By the end of this workshop, that's my goal. That's what I want you to accomplish. Now, why this is important? A lot of people are like, okay, this is not important to me. Like, why should I care? Well, most men over 35 are told to watch their diet and they don't really get a real guidance. Meanwhile, they can see the midsection growing, right? Like, see that belly fat. They see the energy dropping. They see moodiness. They see the blood sugar levels creeping up year after year. And I'm here to tell you, while a lot of people may say it's just age, it's not just aging. It's your body sending signals that truly deserve real answers. Okay. Now, this is my promise, and I am always very proud about my workshops because I know what is out there in terms of offering things. And yes, towards the end, I will offer you to book a call if you like, but my workshops are standalone. You will get value out of this. So grab your notebook, eliminate distractions, grab your coffee, your tea, anything that you can have, relax, listen, take notes. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and you can always ask those questions towards the end during Q&A. But in this workshop, you are going to go from feeling frustrated and confused. Why is it that this belly fat is growing and nothing has changed? Why am I feeling the low energy? And why is my blood sugar increasing? Why is all of this changing and yet nothing necessarily has been changing around my routine and my life? And I want you to understand what is really happening. What is happening in your body, and not just knowing what is happening in your body, but walking away with a simple, realistic strategy that's going to support your metabolic health better now that you're over 35. And if there are ladies listening, I'm here to tell you, share it with your men, the men in your life, son, brother, like husband, anyone that you know that probably needs to hear this. And also know that some of the things that I'm going to share are not exclusive to men. You are going to get an advantage too if you're listening. Now, this workshop is specifically for you. It is designed for you if you have prediabetes or you are at risk due to family history. There are different ethnic groups that tend to have a higher rate of developing type 2 diabetes. Or if you have already noticed that the A1C levels and the fasting glucose has been a little elevated, and maybe your doctor said, watch your blood sugar. If you fall into these categories, you're at the right place. If you're a busy professional, if you're between 35 and 55, dealing with belly fat, dealing with low energy and with brain fog, and you're thriving, you're trying to push through at work and with family obligations and all of these things, this is the workshop for you. Also, if you want simple, realistic plan that fits your life without extreme diets, without spending hours at the gym, and you just want something that is sustainable. And I like to joke with my clients and I tell them, would you marry this habit that you're incorporating without the options for divorce? Can you see yourself doing this for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and still do it joyfully? If they're showing hesitation, then I said, okay, we can do it temporarily, but we need to explore something that is going to be sustainable. Because in the end, sustaining those results is going to depend on what type of habits you can stick with and stay sustainable. Now, here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover why belly fat and low energy and the blood sugar struggles, why they increase after 35. What's the whole deal about turning 35? We're going to talk about 3 root causes that most men never really think or address, or I think it's almost like thrown under the hood, or it is assumed that it's just age. And then finally, I'm going to provide details on my simple method, my 111 method, so that you can start turning that around and turning that around today. Right. And that's part of the promise that I have for this workshop. Now, why does belly fat increase after 35? And I will have to say that it doesn't happen just in men. Like women, we go through a lot of hormone changes, a lot of changes that are happening, and we notice those things the same, right? Like a lot of my female clients would say, well, I am eating exactly the same. I am active. What is happening? Well, your body starts becoming more insulin resistant after 35. And a lot of it has to do with hormonal changes and shifts. Now, one thing that I will say is for women, it's called menopause. And for men, it's called andropause. And that is something that you don't hear that often. So, women go through a lot of different changes around progesterone and estrogen, and men go through shifts around testosterone. And that starts declining 1 to 2% every single year the moment you turn 35. And that actually causes the insulin resistance to start developing. And when that happens, the glucose cannot enter your cells efficiently. And instead of that, it signals your body to store fat. So that's why you're thinking, okay, why is it that I'm eating about the same? And all of a sudden, I feel like, okay, I'm getting a little bit fluffier. It's because of all of these signals that the body now is receiving to say, okay, store fat. And it's typically not all throughout the body evenly, but more in the midsection. And the sad part about this is that insulin resistance can develop silently for years before showing up in any lab test. And in fact, even with prediabetes, even when your A1C levels, which is your average glucose levels in the blood for the last 2, 3 months, that is a test. 1 in 3 Americans have prediabetes, and a lot of them don't know it. It is one of those things that initially has no physical side effects, or I will dare to say they do, but people do not put them together. They do not associate them together. Having constant cravings, having the 3 p.m. slump, having low energy, the moodiness, a lot of it is related to blood sugar imbalance. Because people don't see it that way. And again, it takes years for your body to start developing that. Now, here's one testimonial. And my client thought that the belly fat was part of just getting older. And it was really just type 2 diabetes. It was the blood sugar that was behind it. And he was able to lower his levels and is still working through it. But these are the things that sometimes you have these two sides of your health and you're not connecting them together. And here I am telling you, they are connected. Now, you must be asking, okay, we know about the hormonal shifts that happen in both men and women and how that triggers your body to store fat in the midsection, how your insulin resistance kind of like gets a bit stronger and it builds up. But now you may be asking, why do energy levels drop after 35? Why does this happen? One thing that a lot of people, again, they have normalized is chronic stress. And I'm here to tell you, we have normalized it to the point that we don't think that there is anything wrong with it. And the fact of the matter is that chronic stress, being in that fight or flight mode, constantly having a long to-do list, running, not having that time to just give the brain a massage, like I like to say it can keep your cortisol levels elevated. When your cortisol levels are elevated, that visceral fat, that abdominal fat, and the fat that goes around your organs, that sometimes you don't look as chunky. I'm going to call it chunky. You don't look as chunky, and yet there is a lot of fat deposits within your organs. It has more cortisol receptors than fat that is stored anywhere else. And what ends up happening is that over time, you're having those elevated cortisol levels. It encourages your body to store even more fat around the midsection. And then when you combine that with poor sleep, which we know that a lot of us find very something that we're proud of, is okay, I was able to do this. And I only had 5 hours of sleep, but I am pressing through. Your body is put immediately into that fight or flight mode. And it is proven as well that if you have 1 or 2 nights of bad sleep, that actually increases your blood sugar. Even if you're eating balanced meals and you're doing all these other things to manage your blood sugar. So sleep, stress, all of this, super important. And then if you combine that with excess calories, and why do I mention excess calories? Because when you're stressed out, typically you go for the snacks, you're looking for comfort, you're looking for that quick fix, you're looking for energy. And typically, when you get to that point, you probably are not craving the healthier things. You're craving more of the higher in calories or higher in carbs, those options, just because your body is signaling, I just need that quick energy. And that ends up building the insulin resistance even more. And also, for many men and women, I would say, low grade daily stress is one of the biggest and most overlooked drivers of belly fat. And that I have a lot of clients that are corporate clients. I do lunch and learns for corporations. And this is the one thing that I see constantly. A lot of people can control the nutrition. They over focus on the nutrition, but they're not looking at the stress. They're not looking at, am I taking a mini break, walking away from the computer? Am I taking a short walk? Am I putting my phone down? Am I having a mindful moment? Am I taking a deep breath between meetings, or am I going, right? The work deadlines, the family responsibilities, then you add poor sleep because you cannot sleep 7, 8 hours every night because you have all these things that you need to do. And then you have the financial pressure. All of that keeps cortisol elevated around the clock. And also, when your cortisol levels are elevated, your body cannot produce as optimally the hormones that you need to have adequate sleep. So you see how it all kind of bundles together. And here's a testimonial of another client that she was that go-getter. She was an expert on every single diet that was out there. When it comes to incorporating a new strategy, she's the champion, right? She was incorporating everything. You could tell her, try keto, try intermittent fasting, try this. She will do it all. Ultimately, the key, the secret sauce for her was to focus on stress management. She had a very high demanding job, very long hours, and we had to tweak and figure out ways how she could incorporate those breaks. And the easiest way was to incorporating breathing breaks. And I told her, I'm like, okay, let's see how you can schedule, block your calendar, limit your meetings, put certain boundaries when possible. And that made a huge difference, to the point that even her reports had to ask her, what was she doing that she seemed to be more relaxed? So you know that it was a big change when her directs asked her that. Imagine. Now, the third point that I wanted to bring, that also many people ask me. Okay, we talked about the hormonal shifts, both men and women. Hormonal shifts, those shifts, visceral fat, how everything goes into the midsection, this place that we don't want it to be. And we're talking about stress. Now, how do we do this whole blood sugar thing? Why is it so hard to manage? A lot of my clients, they come in thinking that the medication is going to do it all. There are others that are really conscious because they have seen family members have amputations. I'm sorry to say it, like type 2 diabetes is a true risk. It can impact your vision, it can impact your nerves, it impacts your blood vessels. There's a higher risk of developing heart disease. There's so many risks. So that's why it's so important to manage your blood sugar. But then you may be asking, why is this so hard? And here's one element that a lot of people are also not talking as much. I know that there is a big rave on protein. If you go online on TikTok, it's all about protein. And I actually have gotten some backlash about, well, everybody is over focusing on protein. And I can tell you, most of my clients, when I go through what they are eating, most of them are not eating enough protein, not even the baseline. So It is not a fad, it is a true concern. Now, men after age 30, they start losing 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade. So it starts declining. And since muscle is like that primary site that your body uses to use that glucose, you know what it means? Less muscle, it means poor blood sugar control. And guess what happens? Then you need less calories. Then, when you're eating more calories because you're having this energy dip and you need more and you feel that, okay, I'm not eating enough, then you trigger that fat storage. Now, the good news is that you can reverse this. You can start creating and maintaining muscle mass by improving your protein intake. And I will say, as a general guideline, always talk to your doctor, but as a general guideline, 30 grams of protein per meal. Try to aim for that. And I'm talking about 3 meals. We're not going to dig deep into intermittent fasting. It's not my favorite technique, but at least 3 meals, 30 grams of protein, and also strength training. Very important. Get some dumbbells, get some resistance bands, incorporate strength training. Me personally, I had to incorporate some strength training. Not my favorite, to be quite honest. I'm more of a walker, jogger. I love outdoors and I love cardio, but I had to incorporate that. It is important for both men and women. But this is the number that I want you to keep in mind. And the good news is that you can reverse that. You can slow down that muscle loss. And here I'm going to dig a little deeper into intermittent fasting and skipping meals, right? We know that we are busy. You're waking up in the morning. You have to make it to the office. You have to drop off your kids. You have to do this, do that. I don't have time for breakfast. I'm just going to skip that meal. And what ends up happening is that you're under fueling your body and you're pushing your body to run on empty. Then your liver has to respond by releasing stored glucose. There's a lot more science into this that I'm not going to get into today, but it will cause unpredictable blood sugar spikes. If you have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes and you're measuring your blood sugar, this is why sometimes people will wake up with extremely elevated levels of glucose. Is your liver responding? You're probably not eating enough. I've had clients that sometimes incorporating a very simple snack that is balanced, a bit closer to bed, not too close that it will disrupt sleep, helps with that. Because then if your body doesn't have any fuel, the liver is thinking, okay, I don't want this person to die. I need to produce glucose so that they can stay alive. And then your blood sugars are elevated, even though you're not eating. And you're like, wait, what is happening? This is what's happening. Now, here's one testimonial of another client. And the one excuse that and I'm going to call it excuse, sorry. The one thing that a lot of people will use is that they don't have time to exercise. I don't have time for movement. I don't have time to go to the gym because the gym is 30-minute drive, or it's cost me X amount of money and I'm going to have to pack a bag and I'm going to have to do all these things. This lady right here lost over 20 pounds. She was able to reverse prediabetes without going to the gym ever. Still to this day, I still reach out to her ever so often to see how she's doing. She still doesn't go to the gym. But she was able to add 30 minutes of movement across her day. Because this is one misconception that a lot of people have. They think in order for exercise to truly count, I need to be exercising for 1 hour straight. It needs to be high intensity. It needs to be at the gym. It needs to be with machines. No, there are different types of movement: swimming, hiking, biking, walking. You can do the walking and then speed walk for a period and then slow down again just to increase that heart rate a bit. She was able to add those 30 minutes and break them down. She had some activity in the morning. She had a 10-15 minute walk in the middle of the day right after lunch, which is amazing for insulin sensitivity. I would recommend that to everybody. And it also helps with stress. Remember, we talked about cortisol and all these things. So when you're taking that walk in the middle of the day after your lunch, not only are you optimizing your body to use that glucose that it's been produced with that lunch, but you're also separating from work, looking outside, giving your brain a rest, or how I like to say it, giving your brain a massage. So she was able to do that. And then at the end of the day, she added another 10 minutes. So she had a yoga, she had a strength training in the morning, and she had that walk in the middle of the day. So the CDC recommends 150 days, 100, 150 days, 150 hours of 150 minutes a week for your exercise. And because of that, she was able to incorporate this 5 days a week. And that was very manageable. So remember, the CDC guidelines: 150 minutes a week of moderate exercise and 2 days of adding some strength training. And she was able to kind of do a hybrid and incorporate that. And then on weekends, she was able to incorporate also some activities that were not formal exercise, but involved movement. Like, I'm going to go hiking with my family, or we're all going to rent bikes and go to this park and bike around. That was actually activity that she was incorporating, and it didn't feel like it was a formal exercise or something that she needed to do. Now, here is the solution that I had created. This is something that it came as a solution for a lot of my clients that they were used to changing everything. They wanted to work on 20 steps. And now I was giving them an option of, okay, where do you want to start? And they were like, well, everything. I want to do everything. And I'm like, well, that in terms of behavioral and my coaching skills, it is best to focus on very simple actions, perfect those, and then build from there. So I ended up creating this method for those clients that were like, I don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not sure. I'm like, okay, start with this. And I am sharing that with you today. So it was a pattern that I saw. And I can tell you, a lot of people are overwhelmed by the extreme diets, the supplements, the complicated rules. And I have to admit, even with my own experience, that most of us think that if it's not suffering, it's not counting or it's not going to yield results. We feel that, oh, like this needs to be extreme in order for it to work. So sometimes some of my clients will have a bit of resistance because they think, wait, this is it? This is all I'm going to have to do? And I'm like, yes. They're like, okay. Like, I don't know if this is going to have any results. Sometimes the simplest strategy is the best strategy because you're going to be consistent with it. And that is the key. A lot of the extreme measures, they may give you some results, but they're going to be temporary because you can't keep up with that extreme measure for too long. And that is the secret of sustainability, is finding those habits that are simple and that you can embrace and that you can see yourself doing in the long run. So the 1-1-1 method, what is it? 3 areas, one simple action for each area that you will do every single day. Not to be overwhelmed. It's not about perfection. It's just that realistic starting point that will actually work. A lot of my clients, they're in shock when they see, I didn't realize that just shifting these things would create such a shift in how I feel overall. So, step one, or the first of the 1-1 methods, is to focus on one balanced meal. One meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, one meal. Focus on that one meal a day. Apply that PFF formula that I'm going to explain, and that will help you stabilize your blood sugar, crush your cravings, and sustain your energy. So pick one meal. I am not even going to tell you which meal, one meal. And you're going to do this. You're going to build that meal in a balanced way. You're going to make sure that that meal has P for protein. What is protein? Eggs, Greek yogurt, chicken, beans, tofu, tempeh, fish. All of those are sources of protein. You're going to make sure that you have fiber in there. What are fiber? Whole grains, vegetables, fruits. And, right, we cover the P, we cover the F, and we cover the other F, which is healthy fats. What are healthy fats, right? Non-saturated fats. Think Mediterranean, olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds. Those are the options that you have for healthy fats. So make sure, and you can start today, make sure that at least one meal in a day, just one meal. Look, that I'm not telling you what to eat. I'm telling you how to build a meal, and make sure that you look at that plate and you ask yourself, does it have protein? Does it have fiber? And does it have fat? That is the key for blood sugar balancing. Your body does not react the same way when you just have carbs versus when you just have the carbs with the protein and the fiber and the fats. And that is the secret for you to create that balance. Now, the second step, one movement break. I know a lot of people have a lot of resistance with this. Again, because of what I said before, they want the extreme. I don't have the gym. I don't have time. I cannot do this. I actually had a client that ended up creating these touch points with his directs and was doing walking meetings. So every time they had a catch up, they will actually walk around. If it was during the winter, they would walk around, or they would take a walk outside. And that was a way of incorporating movement, still feel productive, but still squeezing that movement. So I would say, okay, we already said one meal, right? Then the next number one is one movement break, and that you can easily start building up. And I'll tell you what it is. I want you to start with one movement, 5-10 minutes. I'm not even asking for those 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Think about it as incorporating exercise bites or snacks. That is actually a term now that I see often online. The gym is great. If you love the gym, if you have access to the gym, if your building complex has a gym there, if your office provides a gym, take advantage of it. But I don't want you to use the gym as an excuse to say that you cannot incorporate this, because I'm telling you, you can't. Taking a 10-minute walk after meals reduces your blood sugar spikes up to 27%. It is researched. Walking is like one of the best options for exercise. Even when you're having certain restrictions, still walking seems to be one of the safest. Obviously, if you have any restrictions, talk to your doctor, talk to your personal trainer or physical therapist. But walking, it's still one of those universal exercises that most people can do. So incorporate that. Do you want to incorporate calf raises? Calf raises is another way, even when you're having a blood sugar spike, that helps tremendously. Squats, lunges, jumping jacks. Incorporate a few of those, and that is amazing. Go online. Fit On app is one of those resources that is free. It does have a paid version, but you can use for free. And YouTube has tons of resources. Find a 10-minute routine and do it. Do it while you're cooking. Do it while the kids are taking a bath. I actually have an app, and it's called 7-Minute app, that has workouts that are 7 minutes. And I do them every single day while my son is taking a bath. So find that habit stacking and incorporate that. But start, okay? I want you to start. Think. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you ideas. But start with at least that exercise bite. 5 minutes to start, and then you build from there. That is the key. And the third option, right? We talked about one meal. We talked about one movement break. Now let's talk about that mindset. Find one mindful moment. Something that is going to help those cortisol levels that we talked about. Is going to help with your stress. And by adding that, you're going to regulate your nervous system. Again, cortisol triggers a lot of different things. And finding that mindful moment, it will help tremendously. Now, what is a mindful moment? I can tell you that it doesn't look the same for everybody. And it could be a short walk. It could be a breathing break. It could be just looking on TikTok at fun memes or reels. It could be something that is just going to take your brain off of all of the to-do list, all of the things that you need to do at work, all of these things. And then you're able to shift that, give the brain a break, and let the cortisol levels naturally decrease. Because when you're in a constant fight or flight mode, I want you to think that technically your body is thinking you're being chased by a tiger. Chased by a tiger. And remember, when you do that, remember how we talked about how hard it is to sometimes balance your blood sugar? Everything that I have shared will balance your blood sugar. It will break that cycle. Okay? So start thinking about what can I do? And one last tip on this. I had a client that said, I cannot get my staff to not interrupt me in the office. And it's hard for me to put that boundary. My client that I'm going to the bathroom for those mindful breaks, even when she didn't need to go to the bathroom. So be creative and find those moments. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to have a journaling routine or something like that that will last an hour, but a few minutes just relaxing, maybe listening to relaxing music. Find what makes you relax and makes you disconnect from all the worries, all the obligations, and do that for a few minutes. Your body will thank you. So here it is. We shared it, right? This is the strategy. This is the 1-1-1 method. One balanced meal, one movement break, one mindful moment. That's it. Mind you, I did not share a diet. I did not share a complex exercise plan. 3 simple daily actions that work to support better blood sugar, have more energy, and less belly fat. And you don't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be completely, you just need to get started. Now, why taking action is important. I already shared throughout the workshop how blood sugar impacts so much, how your hormones can also trigger that insulin resistance. We already know all the risks that are involved when you develop type 2 diabetes. You have that knowledge, but knowledge alone does not create change. If it was like that, now in the era of AI that you can just pretty much search everything, we have knowledge. I think we have too much information now, and it becomes an overload. Now we have 20 strategies to choose from. And a lot of my clients come to me, guess what? Because that becomes overwhelming. Now they have 20 strategies, but they don't know which are the strategies that I need to incorporate, which is the one that's going to work for me. And we are all different. We all have different family structures, different jobs, different routines, different schedules. The schedule that somebody that has a 9 to 5 is a very different from somebody that has kids and works from home versus somebody that travels for work. You see how different? But implementation is what makes the change. Personalization is what makes the change. And I know most men, and I'm going to say women, I have run these workshops for a while now, and now I'm doing it every month. They leave feeling motivated. Okay, I'm going to do this. But within 48 hours, oops, life gets in the way. Now it's summertime. If you're in New York, today is last day of school. So, including me, my schedule is going to change next week, right? Summer schedule and summer camps and all these summer programs, they're different. The schedule is different. The rhythm is different. Even the kids feel it. A lot of it changes. Life is always evolving and changing. The old habits return because your brain is preconceived to, okay, let me shift you back to what our routine was. And that's what makes change sometimes a bit hard. And then that overwhelmed feeling comes back. And when you're overwhelmed, you tend to go to what feels common, the natural and the usual route that you always did before. And that is exactly why I created the A1C reset protocol. And you may be asking, okay, like, how can I accomplish sustainable change? How can I do this? And the first part of my program, it has to do with clarity. I pinpoint the exact habits that are driving that belly fat, that are driving that low energy, that are driving the blood sugar struggles, because everybody's different. I may have somebody that their sleep schedule is off, and maybe nutritional and their habits and their meals are balanced. There are other elements that need to come into play. So we get clear. It's not a cookie cutter strategy, but it's something that is very clear as to, okay, these are the things that are impacting my health and that probably deserve my attention. Then we move into guidance. We get into that coaching and that accountability and getting access to me and getting access to like the resources that you need for whatever it is that may come your way. Because ultimately the goal is to create change that stays, and master a repeatable system. I offer maintenance programs after you complete my coaching program, but my goal is for you to spend money on this program and not have to do anything else. I want you to have exactly the tools that you need that fit your life, that you're able to balance your blood sugar. That is my goal. And that is why I created it. And I didn't create it out of just let me create a program, but it was something that came out of my own experience. I had to live through it and see what actually works to then create this program and know and have the assurance that this system works. And what is it? It's 12-week long. It is specifically designed to lower your A1C, reduce your belly fat, reverse prediabetes, and increase your energy and the focus that a lot of these things happen because of blood sugar imbalance. And it's one-on-one coaching, it's private coaching and support. You have access between sessions. You have a plan that is built for your life. Again, not cookie cutter. I have a structure, but the structure is built and molded based on your needs. It's personalized because I want the strategies that we use that are not tied to an extreme diet, that are not tied to overwhelming rules, but that you are able to sustain that you can finally live without the fear of I am going to develop type 2 diabetes. I am the only one in my family from all of my siblings and cousins that does not have type 2 diabetes. And I say this 50% proud and the other 50% sad. Because a lot of it is because sometimes they're not embracing change. So I want you to think about that and think about, okay, what do I need to create sustainable change? Because we know we can crash diet and do something super quick, probably not safe, and get some results. But is it sustainable? So in order for you to explore, because I do go through a process just to make sure that this program is for you, book a clarity call. It's 20 minutes. It's not a sales call. I know that it's tough and a lot of people are like, ugh. It is a conversation. After talking about your health goals, your symptoms, your roadblocks, see what is it that you really truly need. Then if you are a good fit for the A1C reset protocol, I'll be more than glad to explain exactly all the mechanics of it. And we go over all your options, or we go over different options. Because I do have a different program that is 21 days for individuals that want to hyper focus on a specific thing, and it may be a better fit. But the one thing I'm not going to do is offer this if it is not the right fit for you. I want this to be an investment, and I want this to be hopefully the last investment that you need to do to balance your blood sugar and regain that energy. So my encouragement is to take action now. You have no idea how many people have done clarity calls with me and would say, I'm going to do it on my own. There's lots of resource out there. And then they come back to me to work with me already with type 2 diabetes because it takes that support and that clarity. And when you go out and DIY, at times it's just so much, it backfires. And remember, the clarity call is free. There's no obligation. There is no pressure for you to enroll. It is a simple conversation. We just want to assess if there is something, if there is a resource, if there's anything, I will provide it for you that I have. And if the A1C reset protocol is for you, I will be the first one to be like, I think this is the right thing for you. I think I have the solution for you. If it is not, I'll be the first one to say, I don't think this is the right thing for you. And not doing anything, it's making a decision and it can impact your future, right? Inaction is action. I know a lot of people are like, wait, what? Yes. Not taking a turn, you're making a decision to stay stagnant where you are. And nothing is going to change. It's not going to go away. I can tell you that much. And what are you going to lose? Spend another month not seeing any results, trying things out, going online, spending money on supplements, spending money on this program and that program, and then being disappointed because you have spent all of this and nothing has worked. And I understand that I did that in the past. Now, because of you being here, I am going to share on the comments and I will put that on the link. There is a brand new resource that a lot of people are asking me because I talk a lot about blood sugar spikes. And a lot of people are like, wait, you're sharing what you should do when you want to avoid a blood sugar spike. But what happens when you actually have a blood sugar spike? What can I do? So I created this resource and I am going to share it in a second. And I'm going to also put in the banner how to grab a virtual coffee with me. But grab that. I will definitely send a replay to email and I will send a link for this as well. But if you have any questions, anything that I can help and support you, please, please, please let me know. I am here. We have a few minutes for questions. So I know there is a few people in the audience. If you have any questions, put it on the comment. If not, I do have a couple of things that I would love to share with you. Let me check. Okay. So I don't see any questions. So I guess I did a great job. Now, one thing that I wanted to share that I found that it was interesting, and that is how people talk a lot about menopause and perimenopause in women, and there is a term for men. For women, there are changes in estrogen and progesterone, and obviously our body is different, right? Like we reproduce, we carry the babies, so it's different. But for men, what ends up happening is that testosterone starts to slow down in production. And the, for lack of a better term, the colloquial, like the term that people use out there is andropause. And that was something that was quite new to me because guess what? You don't hear about it as much. What is andropause? And that's what it is. It's just that gradual decline of production of testosterone. So what ends up happening is that now you're having mood swings. Now you're having low libido, erectile dysfunction. And the thing is that this increases when you have type 2 diabetes, when you're dealing with obesity, it impacts more your hormones. So you see how all of this is somewhat connected and how you're saying, okay, why do I have that low energy? Why I feel so tired? Why is it? A lot of it is also a hormonal shift. That's why I wanted to do this for men specifically because I don't think that a lot of people talk about this and it is important. And I would say talk to your doctor. If you're really feeling low energy, go to your doctor. There's a lot of resources out there, and I will actually add that in the email when I finish the workshop and send a recording so that you can have access to that. And yeah, so if I don't see any questions, thank you so much for your time. If any questions come up, you already know you can send me a message, put a comment, follow me on Instagram, follow me and subscribe to the podcast. There's a brand new episode today that came out this morning, and it is all about fatty liver disease. That's another thing that a lot of men tend to struggle with, and it is tied to blood sugar, But thank you so much for your time. I love doing this. I love connecting with you. I love to hearing about all of this after. So please send me a message. Let me know what you think about this. If there was anything that you wish I could share in the future, and have an amazing rest of your weekend. Bye.